You see how I clean my room? Very demure, very mindful. If you haven't been on the internet this week, I don't know where you've been, but obviously there's a new trend coming out being very demure and very mindful. So this week, a trend has started from a woman called Jools, Lebron, I think it is. I don't want to mispronounce her name, but that's what it is. And I actually just thought, let's do some wholesome stuff this week. I feel like everything that's very demure and very mindful is just nice, to be honest. There's not any drama between it, apart from maybe drama that I create myself, as you will see later in the video. But yeah, we'll go into the actual original video. This was not the first one I've seen. I'll show you the first one I've seen after.
You see how I do my makeup for work? Very demure, very mindful. I don't come to work with a green cut crease. I don't look like a clown when I go to work. I don't do too much. I'm very mindful while I'm at work. See how I look very presentable? The way I came to the interview is the way I go to the job. A lot of you girls go to the interview looking like Marge Simpson and go to the job looking like Patty and Selma. Not demure. I'm very modest. I'm very mindful. You see my shirt? Only a little chichi out, not my chocho. Be mindful of why they hired you. Here's your reality check, diva. What's the name you'd like me to make it out to?
So you see, that was the original one there. Obviously talking about the context of work clothes and going to interviews in clothes. I'm actually unsure if the reason is because this past couple of weeks has been a lot of talk about Gen Z specifically, and maybe like younger people going to job interviews in inappropriate outfits essentially. Obviously other maybe people in the same generation are maybe going like, that's not the best because, well, why would you do that? Why wouldn't you dress like in a way that you think you'd want hired for? So it's a very interesting thing. I actually didn't realise that until I watched that time. But what I'll actually do is I'll show you the first video I watched with it.
See how I come to the wedding? Very demure, very cutesy. See how I don't wear white? Very mindful. See how I bring wine to throw on anyone who does wear white? Very considerate. Very demure.
Obviously the theme of very demure, very mindful is just kind of like showing respect for certain things, which I actually really like the trend. It's like we don't have trends like this normally, and I actually do like this. And obviously it's a big one about weddings, which is very controversial to say the least. Well, not really, everyone kind of agrees you shouldn't wear white to a wedding unless told otherwise. But some people do it. Quite smart, bringing red wine to throw over people is very demure, very mindful. It was after this one, it sent me down a rabbit hole and I just kept getting very interesting stuff.
See how they broke into my car but didn't actually break anything? They just unzipped it? Very mindful, very demure. Notice how they just rested the seat down instead of actually breaking it? Very, very careful, very demure. Notice how they took my 2 ring lights out of the car instead of stealing my Ray-Bans? Very considerate, very demure.
See? I like it, making light of a situation that isn't a good situation at all. In fact, your car's broken into, you may as well get some content out of it. I think it's actually got a lot of views, 4.9 million views. So hopefully she got paid for it. So hopefully at least it's maybe made the ring light money back, because obviously that's someone stole. You don't want them to not have anything. Hopefully this trend has got our ring lights back essentially.
Notice how I don't bug my wife while she's playing video games. Very polite. Very demure.
I didn't do nothing. I don't know what you're talking about.
What did you do?
I didn't do nothing.
I just like the advanced things that we're getting with it. Like, it's not just respect anymore. It's people just being general boyfriends, I would say. I feel like that's just a very thing that boyfriends do to annoy their girlfriends, and it goes the other way about as well. But obviously in this video. But no, I'm liking the more like light-hearted stuff that's happening from the trend. And something actually really nice happened. RuPaul got Jools Lebron on TV to talk about it. I've not actually watched the video, but we'll get into it.
You know, that TikTok has been viewed over 33 million times. And, you know, I love it so much, I asked Jools to come and be on the show. So we tracked her down, and here she is tonight. Jools, how am I doing so far?
Very demure, very mindful.
Okay. Tell me, what was going on when you recorded that TikTok?
Well, apparently the trauma that comes from working a retail job gets enough to you that you start saying demure on the internet.
Where do you work? Can you say?
I was at Mariano's grocery store in Illinois. Very cutesy, very demure.
What does demure mean to you?
I feel like demure is like a mindset. I used to be crazy and out of control, and then I found some demurity, and along with that came success.
Demurity?
Demurity is my purity.
lot of celebrities have done the demure videos, including myself. Who was the most surprising to you?
I think J-Lo, because she finally revealed what that orange drink from the block was.
What was it?
Demure.
I like the way that she just kind of like was confident with it, that she understood where she needed to be, and I like the confidence with it. And the fact that she actually got on TV is quite cool, and this is the interesting part where he said that basically celebrities are still now starting to use it. So it was like, oh, that's when I think that it starts to get a bit weird, which I'll actually show on to the next video, because there is also the thing of like, do they know what it means, or are they just doing it because our management's told them to do it?
Do you see how I did Chloe's makeup? Very 90s, very sultry, very thoughtful, very demure.
Do you see how I'm sitting here? Very ladylike, very mindful, very demure.
Have you seen the band? Very chic, very elegant, very demure. What does mean demure?
See, there you go. Like, obviously the hairstylist is like, yeah, I'm just playing along, because obviously they should, because they're getting paid either way. But it's a very interesting one where it's like starting to come to the fact of, do the celebrities know what they're doing, or have they just been told to do it by management? Or as Ash Combs, I think that's how you say her name, is she just asked her to do it? Which is fair enough, she has, because obviously like that would get her trending at least. I think the video has got a lot of views on it as well. 11.9 million views, which is a lot. It's good that celebrities are up for it as well. My thing is that they start using it in the wrong context, and it starts to feel like, I hate using the word, but like boomer cringe, where essentially it's just kind of like, oh well, I do this, so what's up, fellow kids? And it's the guy holding the skateboard. I think it's very trying to relate to the younger audiences, which is funny, because I feel like obviously the trend isn't for younger than me, it is around about my age range, but I always worry when I say stuff like this that it's going to be, oh, maybe I'm a bit too old for it as well, which is very interesting.
Do you see how I take the tube? Very mindful, very demure. Don't stand in front of the doors. I let people out first. Very mindful, very respectful.
I don't mean like take you on the tube. Very respectful, very demure.
Very mindful, very demure.
See, I actually think we should maybe start teaching people like the rules throughout videos like this, because it's very interesting. Obviously, moving out the way for people coming out the tube's just like obvious, but she's obviously doing this because it's not obvious to some people, and I like the way that she's trying to educate people through a trend, and I feel like such a dad saying it this way, but I just think it's a very interesting one. I actually just like how wholesome the trend is.
Someone just filed an application to trademark the phrase very demure, very mindful, but it wasn't Jools. And while a lot of people are falsely claiming that Jools can no longer use the phrase, I'm going to show you why that's not true and why Jools shouldn't be worried about anything. In fact, it's going to end up messy for the person who filed this. Jefferson A. Bates, I see you. You weren't being very mindful when you filled out this application, but luckily, I read the fine print. I see that you're trying to obtain this trademark for advertising, marketing, and promotional purposes. Now, I can tell you were rushing to fill out this application because there's an error in the second...
Obviously, someone's trying to trademark the term now, which I actually think is a bit scummish. Because either way, it should be the original person that gets to trademark it if they want to trademark it. But it's a trend. Like, they're like, she's happy with people saying it. She was on TV there being like, oh yeah, I'm happy that these celebrities are using it and stuff like that. She's not trying to make money from it. I think she's just like, oh, this is quite cool that I've said something and other people have liked it. Which I think is fair enough, and I think it's so unfair, the fact that someone's went, I should make money from this. But to be fair, that's what a capitalist society is and what we have.
An address you listed, but you also agreed to the declaration at the end of the application that warned you about the risks of fraud, perjury, but also knowingly providing false information on this application could lead to consequences. Before we get to that, let's back up. What is trademark? A trademark can be many things, such as a phrase, a word, some symbols, a logo. However, it specifically identifies the goods or services you are offering, and it's how customers recognize you in the marketplace and distinguish you from competitors. Trademarks can also serve as legal protection for your brand. However, having a trademark does not mean you own that specific word or phrase and that no one else can use it. That's a huge misconception on TikTok. It's more about how a phrase or a word can be used when delivering specific goods or services. If Jools decides to put out merch that has the phrase very demure, very mindful on it, it can protect her from people who are trying to reproduce that shirt. Now that's why branding and marketing are so important.
See, I think from obviously previously I did the video on the Hawk Tour girl and she started making merch, and I always do say make as much money as you can from it, and I do think Jools should make as much money as she can from it, because why not? Like, people are happy to pay for it. It's quite a wholesome thing, it's funny, so she she should be making merch from it, but it's unfair that someone else has went, but I'm going to do that instead.
Important, and why I think Jools has done such a good job at branding herself when it comes to demure and mindful. At the core, trademark is really about association, which is why this application is something I don't think Jools should be worried about. No matter who said this phrase first, it could be Jools, Mulan, Selena, or me in 2010. A concept of secondary meaning or acquired distinctiveness actually comes up, legally speaking. So while a lot of you are fighting over who really said it first, we need to be talking about who we associate most heavily with this phrase. Like Jools said, there's enough demurity and mindfulness to go around. And if more and more people start using this phrase, it's essentially going to become generic, meaning no one can have a trademark to this phrase. Going back to the fine print of this application, Jefferson agreed to several things, basically saying that no one else besides you has the right to use this phrase in a commercial setting, especially if they were aware that you used this phrase before they did, which we could probably guess the answer to based on the application date and when Jools started posting all those videos and when they started popping off. You could actually do something about it.
So annoyingly, I don't think it should be trademarked in any way. Obviously, Jools, I feel like, is going to have to trademark it now so that someone else doesn't steal it. And hopefully she's just going to be like, oh well, I'm not going to let anyone use it, which is fair as long as like she's making the money from it, I think. But to be honest, we'll leave it a good note, and this is the only reason I wanted to do the video, just because I wanted everyone else to see this video. It's got hundreds of views, millions of views. I just want more people to see it. Mango's not been very demure or very mindful, which is a shame because I just love Mango. But yeah, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Hopefully I have been mindful and demure. Like, comment, subscribe.